Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
We've got Chris.
Hey, I am a paper girl. I don't know.
Very good. That's a great newspaper-related quote. I'm Kia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have newspaper-related quotes because today we are reading a wonderful new series by the name of Paper Girls. And this is because we promised on the last episode that we would read whichever series won the Eisner for Best New Series. And Paper Girls won. Hooray! It's written by Brian K. Vaughan, who we've talked about on the show before, author of Runaways. He also has written Y the Last Man, Saga, a bunch of really big, famous comics. He's pretty much in one of the list of all-time greatest writers at this point. And with art by Cliff Chiang, who I don't know that I've read anything by him.
He did New 52 Wonder Woman to kick it off. If you remember how awesome the New 52 Wonder Woman art was, it was really fucking good. So I'm glad to see that he's landed somewhere else, and with Brian K. Vaughan, who will have something creator-owned for him that will get him lots of money. So good for him.
Yeah, I mean, recently, kind of his biggest hit recently, Brian K. Vaughan, has been Saga, which is kind of this space opera, little bit Star Warsy, but just kind of like this brand new, very imaginative world with, we're not here to talk about Saga.
But if you have lapsed comic fan friends, or if somebody says, I want to get into comic books, most often the default current comic is Saga.
Yeah, it's a good one to go to. And Paper Girls is his newest one, and I would say this is probably not the best introduction to comics because it's no spoilers or anything. Well, we'll spoil it later.
I mean, this is what you get though when you base a comic off of the video game Paperboy and then gender swap it like Ghostbusters.
That's not really
that's what you get.
I don't think that's what this is. No, it's kind of like a weird time travel mystery sci-fi thing, but it purposefully throws you into this world where you don't know exactly what's going on. And so really most of this episode, I think, is just going to be us talking about it and piecing together all these weird little details. And it's cool. I definitely enjoy it. There's so much, typical Brian K. Vaughan writing. It's great dialogue, great everything. But it is not easy. Like rereading this thing, at this point I've read it 3 times. And I still couldn't tell you what's going on in these first 5 issues, like 100%. I can give you an idea, I can give you a guess, but I really don't know. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, Brian.
No.
No.
Oh, and since this is a new series, usually we read retro series. And if you're a new listener because you thought Paper Girls was a popular comic book, there will be spoilers here, by the way. So
yeah, there will be. You're right. I did. Yeah, there'll definitely be spoilers for this. So if you're planning on reading it, I'd say read it first. And then maybe come join us here and see if you came to the same conclusions that we did. And if you didn't, tweet at us and tell us we're wrong. At We're Right Here, or on our website, All My Friends Are Right Here. That's our Anchor podcast. And what else?
Or Facebook.com/All My Friends Are Right Here. But please, Brian K. Vaughan, don't tweet at me that I'm an asshole. You already did that 10 years ago.
You need to stop bringing that up. I don't think he knows who you are, and I don't think he cares. Sorry, man.
Okay.
But yeah, visit us on socialmedia.com/All My Friends Are Right. Okay, cool. So Chris, you've been kind of silent. What did you think?
We'll get into it, but I don't really recommend this book.
Word.
Yeah. I recommend
agree.
this for veteran comic book readers, not for. This is not a novice book. So all right. So let's talk about this thing in some broad strokes first before we get into the nitty gritty. This thing is about a bunch of paper girls who are delivering newspapers in the 1980s, around the time when it was not common for a lady to be doing something like that. It was mostly boys, and so these 4 girls kind of are sticking together a little bit. One of them is a new girl, Erin. And she eventually, meets the others while some boys are bullying her. And then through this weird series of events, they end up going through a bunch of time travel. They are, kind of thrown into this world where they're not sure what's going on. And really, we are also, as readers, thrown into a world where we're not sure what's going on because we start off with a dream sequence that Erin is having about the devil asking her questions at a test in school, and then she wakes up to her daughter, and then she gets out and goes to work. Um, and then she meets up with these other girls, and this mysterious figure like beats her up and takes her walkie-talkie, which like
yeah, there's like ninjas because it's also Halloween or the morning after
oh,
Halloween.
that's right, I forgot it's Halloween. Yeah.
And then it just kind of goes tits up. We're gonna go through the whole story and then come back. So let's right.
Yeah.
The ninjas reveal themselves to be people with burned faces who may or may not be from the future. And then there's pterodactyl monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people who speak like Cloud Atlas true language.
Well, okay, yeah. So there seems to be like two main factions. There's like these mutant teenagers that speak like gibberish that no one can understand, and there's like future people who speak in like contractions, like everything makes sense. I kind of, this is my favorite aspect of the book actually, is Brian K. Vaughan's use of this future language where everyone speaks more and more and more casually. It's sort of how you could imagine language evolving, which is kind of.
You'd probably like Cloud Atlas then. Did you ever see that movie?
You know, I never did see that, and you're right. I think I would like that. I've heard
because they have a whole future sequence where Tom Hanks speaks the true. And it's got kind of a it's an interesting exercise in a film from the Wachowskis, but or the book, but it's got that similar type of language style. And then you're right, the ninja burned faced teenagers, they just speak in literally like hieroglyphics.
Yeah, so one of these ninjas like steals her walkie-talkie. They go around looking for it, and they follow it into like this abandoned house where they find this weird machine, and they don't know what's going on. Like, is it a spaceship? Is it an alien? And they touch it, and that's when they get transported into, weird whatever world this is. And at this point, I cannot explain to you what happened. Like, I don't know if the whole town got transported somewhere else, if everything got transported there, because a bunch of people are missing and some people aren't. Like, it's
I don't know. Because the book makes suggestions that it may have been the rapture that happened over the course of the night.
Right.
I picked up hints that maybe they jumped ahead, like Flight of the Navigator style, like they missed a lot of time.
Right. But then there's other people,
or they just teleported somewhere else.
And so that's why I'm still confused. Like there's
I think you're supposed to be confused, but
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the bad guy has like tubes with the town. It looked like.
Mm.
Yeah, it's all sorts of.
You're right. So at one point, there's this bad guy who's going around like zapping people up with his staff, and he's
dressed in all white robot outfits.
Yeah, and he's like one of the future speak people, not the mutant gibberish people. I don't know what to call them because we don't have names for any of these people. So there's future speak camp and mutant.
Oh, and they also see like Apple like iPod Nanos or something.
Yeah, right? And so there's like, I don't know if this is about religion. I don't know if it's about technology. I don't know if it's about heaven and hell. Like I don't know what's going on exactly. But so one of these guys is going around zapping people up, and you
mean
see that
in this first issue or at the end of 5 issues? You're asking these questions.
I still honestly don't know. They don't declare by the end of it like if the ninjas are the good guys or the future robot outfit people are the good guys.
They don't say that, but there's no. I mean, like the rapture stuff is just what's her name's mom being an idiot.
Okay. Yes, that's accurate.
That makes
part of me was like, oh shoot, is this just another perspective from Why the Last Man? Which kind of got me excited because Why the Last Man was Vaughn's book from 10, 12 years ago now, where everything with a Y chromosome disappeared, and so only women were left, and that's across the animal kingdom. So no male animals, no male humans, except for one guy, and a ton of women left over. And I'm like, well, there have been no women here, and we're talking about a rapture. Maybe this is Why the Last Man. It's not.
It's not. No, definitely not. But it is interesting because all these other Brian K. Vaughan books that we've been talking about, Why the Last Man, Runaways, Saga, they're all very clear. Even if they do throw you into unusual worlds, like he generally does a good job of explaining what's going on. And this one is completely the opposite. And so I almost feel like maybe he's won Best New Series based on his pedigree at this point.
That's my general conclusion of this book is I don't think as a book this is a satisfying story either in 5 issues or on an individual issue level. Vaughan doesn't sometimes write like great individual issues, but this is a very unsatisfying full volume to me.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's a story of potential and questions. And isn't this an intriguing premise? Isn't this intriguing? Aren't you intrigued? And I was. I read it really fucking quick, and I'm kind of like, should I read more? But like, talking about this, like, there is nothing for me to grab onto that says this is a good story. And if it doesn't pan out over the next 5 issues, 20 issues, then you're like, I don't think this was a very good book.
So here's what I'll say. I have been reading this month to month as it came out, even though I didn't know what's going on. Again, just because it's Brian K. Vaughan, and I'm like, okay, surely soon we'll figure out what's going on. And we're on issue like 7 or 8 right now in real time, and you're getting more hints as to what's happening. I don't want to talk about them now because it's not sort of within this first 5-issue arc, and I know a lot of people wait for the trade. But it's still left me feeling very unsatisfied because there's still so much left to be explained. And it's very weird. It's like sort of this time travel warfare going on between 2 camps. I guess that's the only thing that I've really know for sure, but you can kind of pick up on that in the first issues.
Yeah. I mean, but like that, I mean, like even Saga is this is going to get me crucified on the internet. I don't like Saga.
Oh no, I like Saga. I think it's good.
I like Saga. Okay, I like Saga. I don't love Saga.
Right.
I think Saga is a very thinly written book that doesn't have much fucking happening in it. And like over collectively like 30 issues, stuff happens, but from issue to issue and even arc to arc, like it's fucking like it's a 20-minute read for an entire volume and like nothing happens.
I think it's okay just because I love the level of imagination that he puts into his works, and that's really the only thing that's kept me with Paper Girls is the level of imagination and just looking at all the cool little details in here.
This is lazy.
Sorry, go ahead. It's okay.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I was pretty much done.
It is. I think it's lazy imagination from Vaughan. Like, oh, it's a bunch of kids, running away from their parents, running kind of in the world. I saw this better in Runaways. Mm-hmm. Oh, these 2 warring factions that are happening while these other people are kind of caught in the crossfire of it. Oh, that's done better in Saga. The fact that everybody's missing and like what the hell is going on with like a long pervading mystery, that's done better in Why the Last Man. Like I think this is very derivative Vaughan.
Those are plot details. I'm talking about like the individual little details within dialogue and the sorts of things they're running into. And I know those are thin and superficial, but I also just enjoy seeing them. Like they run into this weird green orb creature in I think issue number 3 where they're in the sewers, and I'm just like, what the hell is that? And then they start seeing pterodactyls, start seeing all this weird stuff. And actually no, let me mention my favorite moment where I think that green tentacle creature is about to kill one of the girls, and she just starts like having flashbacks through her life, and it's her playing video games and eating Hot Pockets, and like that's all she remembers from her life. And then when she's saved from it, she's just like, holy shit, what the fuck have I been doing? Like that, I thought that was a really powerful moment that would not really fit into any of Vaughn's other books that I've read before. So it does have this unique quality to it that I'm attached to in a way, even though it does at the same time make me mad that I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the first issue, but it's a lot of just sort of like time wasting, because then all this stuff starts happening, and you're right, Vince, in that Vaughn's really good at sort of withholding any information that you might actually want to have. And so like, I think basically every issue ends with sort of a cliffhanger kind of thing, like, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? And then the first 5 pages of the next issue is just like some bullshit kind of thing where it has nothing to do with anything. Like issue 2 or 3, we're introduced to a new character that serves no purpose and is immediately sort of captured by the True Talk people. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, now we're back to, our girls. And it was kind of disappointing to me because I liked kind of where it started. I like that sort of period 80s stuff. They're kind of having a Stand By Me sort of moment that is really well drawn in the first issue, where they're all sort of just riding together and they look really cool. And one of them has her cigarette in her mouth, and it's just a really sort of iconic look. And then I feel like it just kind of gets bogged down with this sci-fi stuff that it's just sort of throwing stuff at the wall, and I'm just not interested. Because I don't even, I mean, we haven't gone through it, but, other than Aaron, like, who are these people? Like, we just...
Yeah, there's Mackenzie. She's like kind of the cool girl, and she smokes and she curses, and I do like that these kids curse. I think that things have been kind of sanitized, but like no kids fucking and girls even like have like potty mouths. They have cool dark thoughts. They're real people. Like that's kind of been like sanitized from kids TV. Although interesting enough, Stranger Things, which I've also been watching, I finished this week, the new Netflix series.
Good. I'm only one episode in, but I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's treading. I was watching that at the same time I was reading this, and I felt like if you're doing this kind of 80s Stand By Me, Kids in Peril, supernatural story, like Stranger Things is doing it a lot better. Stranger Things has got some issues, but they're all kind of superficial to me. I think Stranger Things does that. I mean, it's treading similar thematic feels, I think, a little more interestingly.
I don't think they're too similar though, other than 80s kids on bikes dealing with a mystery, just because Paper Girls gets to be so much more science fiction-y and weird and out there compared to a more horror mystery vibe that Stranger Things has.
I'm more from the Kids in Peril and Kids on Their Own kind of feeling.
Right.
And you know what? I think you guys will like the continuation, because I don't want to talk too much about what's to come in the next arc, but just to jump to the very end of this first whole thing, at the end of issue 5, they're transported somewhere else again, and they see an older version of Aaron, and that's where the cliffhanger ends. And so, really, the next arc is them kind of staying in one place for the most part. It gets way less of the weird sci-fi and more of old Aaron and young Aaron and the kids, like, trying to figure things out together and figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, and that bothered me too, though. I mean, because like that's the same splash page I was on something in Runaways Volume 2 where older Gert showed up to talk to younger Gert.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I've seen this, Vaughan. I've seen this. Like, maybe, I mean, that's probably a problem of me just having read everything that this man's written over the last 20 years. But shit, like this feels like very derivative for him. Like, and it's just like the story is like everybody's just on the run for this arc. Like, it didn't seem like anything really got resolved. Like, even as like, minor plot points got resolved within this.
No,
volume.
It sounds like I'm
right.
Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this thing, I'm definitely more in the positive camp. So I'm just gonna keep playing devil's advocate and arguing against you here.
No, I think
no. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, the thing is I fucking read all of it really quicker than I read any other book. Like, I tore through it. Like, I clearly enjoyed it. I clearly like was intrigued by it. But it's, I don't think I'm gonna go. And this is our segment. I don't think I'm gonna continue on with this book unless I hear like really good things. I don't think I'm gonna continue on with it.
Did you hear it won an Eisner?
Yeah, for best new series.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's based off of Private Eyes and The Private Eye, which I haven't read, or Saga.
I haven't read that one either. Yeah.
Didn't he also write a book about Canada starting a civil war or something?
Yeah. What was that called? About big robots or something like that, and a war.
Yeah.
In Canada. Oh, you know what? I think I've got it somewhere near. We Stand on Guard is what it's called.
Yeah. Is that any good?
I have heard good things. I haven't started it yet, but it's only 4 issues, so maybe someday. But I think that's sort of a problem. There haven't been a lot of good, not good, but there haven't been a lot of time travel stories that I think it's hard to come up with an original idea for a time travel story. And I think it's very ambitious to do something like this. And so he is trying to focus on the not necessarily time travel-y element. I don't know what I'm saying here. It's just kind of crazy out there. And I think it's sort of a... Yeah, I don't know. I like this, and I like the potential that this series has, but I also agree that this 5 issues doesn't show off any of it.
Well, I mean, it shows off potential, but I'm reticent to like embrace books that are just like all potential. I've been burnt. And I shouldn't criticize something else that Vaughan wrote. Lost, the TV show, but like Lost is all potential. Like the first season, it's got good solo episodes in it, I think, but the driving force is like, well, what's gonna pay off? Where's this all leading to? Where's this all leading to? And if it doesn't lead to anything, then it feels like a waste of time in the background. And I think I criticized Young Avengers last episode for this. Like, Young Avengers is like my poster child for like a book that I felt was like really, really like interesting and going somewhere. and then it didn't because the writers just didn't have time and it got canceled. And then going back and reading those 12 issues, I'm like, there's nothing to really hang your hat on. It's just like the promise of a potentially interesting story later on. And that's my where I'm really reticent to like fully embrace Paper Girls here.
But people love it so much.
I know our friend of the show, Alex, loved it too.
That's right, which I'm very confused by because it's nowhere near as good as a lot of his other stuff. But I think people love this idea of potential. I think it works for both TV and for comic books. Anytime there's any sort of a mystery, anytime you can promise more cool details coming up, like, hey, you know what? You might not get a full answer, but we're going to give you something else that's really cool to look at. And maybe we'll answer a question, but we'll ask a ton more. Like, yeah, there's just so much going on. I want to bring up more details because I feel like we're not really talking too much about the comic, but at the same time, I don't know how much else we can talk about it. Because it's just kind of like there's this old guy who's giving orders to the future talkers, and there's
the two ninjas end up having like a translator, but then the translator has like a bug in it, which I like. That then the future people can like trace them. I think that's all cool.
Yeah,
I'm very bothered by Erin being like the most progressive like 2020 vision 80s girl ever. It's like she was time traveled out of 2016 to know what all the hot button issues of 2016 are, and then time traveled back to the 80s to say you shouldn't call gay people that, and AIDS is not a gay disease, and like all these like, you know, super like not politically correct, but like, you know, the right things to say and the right things to know in today's culture that we say, man, the 80s kind of sucked because they didn't know this, and she's like on the cusp of that, and I'm like, she's a 12-year-old. I don't think she's really that like. Wise.
That was my other problem, is that in addition to not struggling to tell characters apart, the Erin character I don't think is believable. Like, this is just kind of a problem for me. Like, she's constantly, you know, like I forget what she says. She says something and then is like, oh, that's her vocab word this week. I'm like, bullshit. Like,
they have a little too many 80s references in there for these girls, you know, like, and Stranger Things does that. It's just like this movie, and it's just like this movie. I'm like, I think about that. I don't articulate that aloud, you know, and I talk in conversations. But
and it's like when, you know, now that I'm 30, yes, I can sort of talk through, you know, make movie comparisons, you know, be like, oh, it's more like this movie. But when I was 12, I would have been like, it's like Jurassic Park. No, wait, it's like Batman.
And those are my two references.
End of references.
Did you guys going on deep cuts? So I was like, this is like Adventures of Babysitting, which I haven't actually seen.
No, because I hadn't seen that at 12.
This is exactly like Ghostbusters 2.
Isn't it crazy how everything that happens to you as a child is like one of the 3 movies that you had ever seen? It's fantastic how everything
and that always comes up while you're running from a monster. You're like, this is exactly like. I don't feel like if I'm running from aliens, I'm going to be quoting Independence Day, like in the moment.
You might. Maybe that'll give you strength. Get these aliens away from Earth. Is that the quote? Hey, aliens, get away from Earth.
I'm gonna push a button and I'm gonna go peace. That's what I'm gonna do.
I might be like the critic in Lady in the Water and just be like, this is the part where the alien would kill me, except maybe I'll just learn a valuable lesson, and then I'll just die from talking.
So back to the comics. I want to ask: did you guys read the letters pages at all?
No, I had to trade.
It was my favorite.
The letters page is. I mentioned my favorite part earlier. The letters page is my real favorite part.
Yeah, I think it is the best.
There is an art to writing a good letters page, and this is how you do it. It's got P.D. Roy, the paperboy, and he's sort of introducing it and just sort of. Gosh, there's something about the way he talks and, you know, with the weird... Because this is said to be... It's like he's writing from the 80s, you know, which is their time period. And so he's, like, talking about weird time gaps and stuff. It's a cool idea for a letters page. I really like it.
So is it like a character? So it's a character writing the letters page?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or responding to letters?
Yeah.
Interesting. And my gold standard... My gold standard for letters pages is Sex Criminals. I don't know why. I think that letters page is really, really good.
I haven't
written by Fraction.
Letters page.
And the first issue has, because they don't have real letters, obviously, they just have like a collection of fake letters, including one from one of the girls.
Oh, cool.
And then they're like, here's our deliverers of the month. And they've got sort of like 12-year-old pictures of Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang and Matthew, I forget his name, the other artist who's holding up a skateboard deck, which is pretty cool, Matt Wilson.
So a tiny spoiler alert for the next arc. When they jump into the future, you get a different writer for the letters page, who's like a different character, who's like now in charge of the newspaper union or whatever it's called. You can send in for your membership card as well. Like I love that sort of cheesy like membership card type stuff. It works really well for comics. I think maybe that's why I love this more than anything. Just that flavor that it has is just so good. I think this.
And that's what I did like about the first issue, and I was like, oh, I could see where this is going. Like I saw sort of the bare bones of a comic I could really like, and I was like, oh, I kind of like the '80s aesthetic if they don't overdo it. And then it's just all the sci-fi stuff that has happened before it happened, and I was like, this isn't what I want.
Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, again, maybe it's just because I've read a little bit ahead. But I definitely like this more than you guys, but I still am very confused as to how this won the Eisner for Best New Series. What were the other nominees? Because I know, like, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, I've also been reading, which is friggin' hilarious. Maybe one of my favorite Marvel books right now. Sad that didn't win. And
I think Bitch Planet was on the list.
Yeah,
Bitch Planet I have not read. One of these days. There was Monstrous, which is beautiful. I haven't read it, but just looking through the pages, it is gorgeous artwork. But the issues were like 60 pages long. It's like,
oh, really? It's dirt cheap on Amazon. It's like $7 as of this recording.
It might be
like
but
it's one of those like cheap image first volumes.
That's one of those things, though. The art in this, we haven't really talked about it much, but Matt Wilson's colors are really good, and Cliff Chiang he's just a really good artist. And
his Wonder Woman is so good.
They do a really good job. I mean, Brian K. Vaughan doesn't clutter up, the pictures with a lot of words. So the art really tells the story, and it looks really good. I mean, that's part of why it reads super fast because
I love there is like a little sort of a twist early in the middle where these two warring factions, the ninjas have stolen the walkie-talkie, and then the future talker kills the ninja and he has the walkie-talkie, and so he starts talking to the girls thinking that they're allied with the future ninjas, and then as soon as he finds out they're not, he gets shot. Like there is story there. I don't want to make it seem like it's just all over the place and you don't know what's going on. But it does, like, all this does still add up to nothing by the end of this arc, where you're still just sort of like, I don't know where we are right now. I love all the little moments. I love everything that happens in there. But yeah, I would expect more from the end of the first story arc. Yeah, I think we're all mostly on the same page, even though I'm defending it more than you guys. I also don't think I can recommend this book until I've read more of it. And even then I would say you'd have to read like 10 issues at once rather than just the first.
That's what was making me wonder, because I got into Vaughan and I got into all the comics with Why the Last Man. And I think I read the first 19 issues that were up to that point like in a day.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, like, if I hadn't had like 3 arcs that day, if I would have been into Why the Last Man as much. Or Runaways, I read all the first 18 issues in a day, and I didn't read I read Ex Machina issue by issue, but I'm wondering if and even Saga I don't think is very satisfying in its first arc. I think Saga needs like 2 or 3 volumes to like get going and feel yourself into the world before you can feel like this is a really good book. Or maybe that was just me. So I'm wondering if that's just maybe Vaughn's pattern for me, is I need 18 issues before I can really like sink into it. And I could probably read 18 issues like in an hour and a half. Of Paper Girls. Maybe I should just check back in.
I think you should go slower, because there's a lot of weird little details that you can very quickly just jump over. And I can't necessarily name any of them at once, but I definitely picked up on more going through it and reading it more slowly.
I mean, I like dense books. Like, I like The Fade Out. The Fade Out was not nominated. Maybe it was last year. That book was incredible by Ed Brubaker. Yeah, and that's just like that's one that's 3-4 issue volumes that like just hits and just like really goes really well for me. The other
Fade Out.
recommendations.
Let me say the Fade Out was nominated for best limited series because it's not
Okay.
ongoing.
I think it won.
Series. Well, then what are you talking about? It didn't get nominated. It won.
Sorry, I was just confused if it was the right year. Fade Out. Read
All
Fade
right.
Out instead. Here's my recommendations. If you found yourself dissatisfied by Paper Girls, read the Fade Out. It's a more satisfying limited series, which this is supposedly a maxi series. Read Wonder Woman by Cliff Chiang. That's a better display of his art. And read anything else by Brian K. Vaughan. It's a better display of his work.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with all those things. But I will also keep going with Paper Girls because I'm hoping that I haven't wasted my time and that something good will come of this.
You're not the girl playing Pac-Man and eating Hot Pockets all day?
It's Arkanoid. She's not playing Pac-Man. It's Arkanoid, man.
It's true.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because the somebody gets confused by the name of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, again, so many fun little details.
Alleyway, Breakout, whatever.
Alleyway. I've never.
That's
heard
what
that.
it was called. That was what it was called on the Game Boy.
So we're talking. Okay, in case you don't know what the fuck we're talking about, it's that little game where you have a paddle at the bottom of the screen and the ball bounces up and down, kind of like one-player Pong, where you're trying to break a bunch of bricks up at the top, right?
Yeah, it's just like Alleyway for the Game Boy.
I've never heard of the game Alleyway. I don't know what you're talking about. You're making that shit.
Yeah, Breakout and Arkanoid are what I've heard it called.
Yeah, there's two names for it. Alleyway is just you making some shit up. That's like, ugh, I don't know.
It's Mario inside that Pong bar.
Nah.
And he jumps out when you die.
I don't think so. Is there anything else we want to talk about with regards to like specific things you noticed in the series? Because I think we've given people sort of a general idea of what it is, and I think at this point they definitely know our opinions on it. But are there any other moments that you guys love? Like I know I've been talking about a lot of moments that I liked. Surely there were things that you guys loved about this. I guess not. All right.
I like the first issue when she was like meeting the other girls, and I was like, okay, they're gonna become friends. So I thought that was cool, but yeah, that was about it that really stuck with me at all. The rest of it was just sort of like sci-fi tropes just watching over me. Just
the healer with a bunch of bugs.
That was cool. That was cool imagery. I'm getting confused because I'm remembering stuff between Stranger Things and this. Stranger Things, also a good recommendation.
Yeah, I've only, like I said, I'm only one episode in, but loving that show. Pterodactyls are cool. What else is there? A bit of a gun thing where one of the girls accidentally gets shot by a gun. That's why she needs the magic bugs to heal her. But then, they say, okay, we're definitely not taking this gun with us. But one of them holds on to it without any bullets in there to kind of use as a bluff when she's running into other weird shit. And I always like those moments where that happens. It's kind of fun. I always like characters that can bluff very convincingly. There's something nice about that because I cannot do that. A dream sequence with Ronald Reagan telling her that, hey, just because you're shot doesn't mean you're going to die. That was pretty cool. Cool 80s stuff, right?
Yeah.
Word.
I liked the letters pages. Once they got real letters, it was pretty funny because, it was like, how old are you in the year it is, 1988? And they're like, wow, a lot of you are like 2 years old. How are you reading this?
Yeah, it's funny stuff. Yeah, I guess that's it. Vince, sounds like you didn't like anything.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's it for Paper Girls then. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to keep going with it. I'll let you guys know if it gets any better. But yeah, in the meantime, that was it. The Eisner Award goes to that.
And I'll recommend, if you like girls solving sci-fi problems, Life is Strange is a good game to play.
Oh, that's right. Life is Strange.
A good game.
The Telltale game that's not a Telltale game.
One of the characters definitely reminded me of a Life is Strange character. Mac is a lot like one of the main characters in Life is Strange. Who also, of course, because she's in high school, she's graduated from smoking cigarettes to smoking other things.
Ooh,
interesting.
She's dyed her hair.
All right, so next time on the show, we are going to go back to Marvel. It's been a long time since we've talked about Marvel, at least a month. So we are going to go back to an issue that, or a series that I've never read. Vince, you've read this, Damage Control. It is written and created by a guy named Dwayne McDuffie, who
late great.
The late great, yeah, a really great comics writer. He wrote a bunch of Justice League Unlimited, which is probably my favorite like Justice League anything that I've ever seen or read. It's on Netflix. You should go watch that.
He created Static Shock.
Yep.
If you remember that cartoon.
Yeah.
And his kind of, I say his magnum opus is Damage Control. Damage Control is a funny in Marvel continuity premise of, well, what about all the people that like fix everything after a superhero or supervillain attack? Like, who are the construction workers who do that? And so Damage Control is about the contracting company who fixes like the Brooklyn Bridge after or George Washington Bridge. I can't remember which one now because it's inaccurate in the book. Whichever bridge is kind of damaged in Amazing Spider-Man 122 or 123. Who fixes that? Who when Thor also destroys a bridge or buildings get destroyed, like the trade centers in 1988? Who fixes it? Damage Control. That's why we're not reading that Damage Control arc, because that's all about fixing the trade centers.
Yeah. We're reading the second volume of Damage Control, which was in 1989, just a 4-issue miniseries, and it's called The Acts of Vengeance, something like that.
It's a tie-in with a Marvel event of the same time, Acts of Vengeance, which hopefully we'll learn more about before we go into it.
It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like it'll be too important, especially if these guys are just going around cleaning up all the damage that the superheroes are doing. Like it's easy to call anything a tie-in if it's just like, hey, they destroyed something. Cool, these guys are coming in to clean it up.
Yeah, they've got lawyers that sued Dr. Doom for the construction bill because he destroyed certain parts. They have. It's a really just a funny comic.
Yeah,
it's a funny book too.
Definitely a comedy focused book, which is pretty cool. We haven't done one of those in a while. I think last time we did it didn't turn out so well. So hopefully it's funnier. This time you've actually read them, Vince. So I'm trusting judgment on this. And if these aren't funny, then you never get to pick a comic again.
They're more like aha funny than haha funny, but that's okay.
I'll take it as long as there's some sort of funny.
Wouldn't Dr. Doom have sovereign immunity, though? I feel like you can't sue.
That was kind of the problem.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the problem of that issue.
Oh, no. I've outsmarted the comic again.
No. That was their problem. They also recognized that in the comic. Like, how do we get Dr. Doom to pay for the foot the bill?
Right.
Did he pay for it? No spoilers. We'll see.
No spoilers.
Well, you got to send Luke Cage to rough him up a little bit. Then he'll pay up.
Ooh, boy.
Squirrel Girl beat him.
Yeah, Squirrel Girl. Shake him down.
Oh, man. Some good stories. Let's read some Squirrel Girl soon. Anyways, hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And join us next time for Damage Control. I think that's it. Vince, Chris, any last words?
Nope.
Cool. The book is closed.
The book is closed. That's a good sign-off. For Vince and Chris and myself, Kia, thank you so much for listening. The book is closed on yet another episode. Bye-bye.